Okay, welcome folks. I want to introduce the three new add-ons that have been developed over the last months to add to and perhaps round off the OFA toolset. So you can see from this diagram we already have these four components in red: AlgoX, Advanced Profile Add-on, Delta Tools and the Risk Reward Management, which work within the OFA environment. And some of you have some of these, all of these, depending on your trading style and which of these perhaps resonated with you in your trading. What I'd like to cover here is those three elements above here that have been outlined in green. These are the Bar Strategy add-on, the OFA Bloodhound add-on, and the Profile Strategy add-on, which accesses the active profile data on the chart. There has been numerous requests over time from our users to provide access to the OFA bar data and the data in the OFA environment. So I wanted to spend a fair bit of time reviewing how we implement this and the various features that we would expose. And as you'll see in the coming presentation and in the detailed documentation, I've tried to supplement this with a lot of samples and a framework to get anyone who is interested in this to get up to speed fairly quickly in accessing the data and seeing the process to actually reference the data either in the code, or the other aspect to this that I want to emphasize is using Market Analyzer particularly, and also the Strategy Builder. It's important to be aware that even if you've got no programming experience, other than setting up a few simple sequential logic conditions, you will be able to use the OFA bar data to create custom alerts and columns in your Market Analyzer, and also to write, to begin with, some simple NinjaTrader indicators and strategies using the builders and the wizards. As I said, across the three add-ons here, 9 sample examples have been provided to get you going. And in addition, one of these, which I'm calling the bonus functional indicator, this you will be able to sort of see, because what it does is it illustrates the use of some of the key OFA bar components, those being the cluster classification and the direction, and the point of control and cluster price detail. What I have done is put together something after some research to actually help you in reading the swings and the oscillations and the flow of the natural movement of the chart, to be able to then apply some decision point profiles and also swing point profiles to actually see the building blocks as the swing actually evolves. Let's cover in a bit more detail now the three add-ons and drill down into some of their main features to help you to determine which of these that you may be interested in and which of the data sets that they each apply to. Beginning, I'd like to talk about the Bar Strategy add-on. This version is for accessing the OFA bar data and covered in detail later in this actual PDF document is more extensive detail and all the key elements and the data that are accessible for using in NinjaScript, in the Market Analyzer and in the Strategy Builder. In addition to the main bar data points, the Bar Strategy add-on also will have access to the current live bar print detail. So that is, once you have loaded this for real-time data, for the current live bar, there is a process to access the volumes at price. So that is the bid-ask volume data at each price level for the currently developing live bar. A sample example indicator has been provided to illustrate, to get you started on actually how to access that data, to use it to perhaps create some indicators or triggers on any volume levels. You can do your own bid-ask analysis. You can write strategies using this data. I'll cover this a bit more in detail as we progress through the presentation. So this again is the bar strategy add-on, and you can see by the arrows here in this diagram is it's working with the actual OFA data to then interact and use all of the components in the NinjaTrader 8 environment: market analyzer, strategy builder, alerts, and custom Ninja script. The next one here is called the OFA Bloodhound add-on. What I have done here is create a version specifically configured for integration and function with the Shark Indicator's Bloodhound Indicator product. This product here is actually covered in a separate PDF to the main one, because there's more detail, more examples, and more discussion for those users who currently have the Bloodhound product or who perhaps are contemplating getting in the future. This one is covered separately. So with OFA now being compatible with the Bloodhound environment, this will help you to empower you to build your signal systems and iterate your logic rules using the OFA data and also working with the powerful, intuitive Bloodhound graphical interface. What I'd like to emphasize here is if you look at the arrows of the operation within OFA, is this one is specifically configured for Shark Indicators, as I've just said. This also contains all of the feature set of the bar strategy add-on. So in addition to working with Bloodhound, this is the one that you would also use to work with Ninja script, strategies, and market analyzer. I've prepared a chart to help outline so it is clear which of the versions of these add-ons that you require depending on which type of user you are. But I just wanted to start the process to explain that the OFA Bloodhound add-on, it inherits all the functionality in the bar strategy add-on, in addition to providing the components for you to hook and integrate and work with Shark Indicators. The last of the three in the set is I've additionally separated out any active profile that's been defined on an OFA chart. As most users will be aware, with AlgoX and the advanced profile tools and risk reward, there is a process to define an active profile. There can only ever be one active profile on the chart. That can be switched, and there is a process to do that. Once you have defined your active profile, we now have a process to extract and provide an interface for you to look at all the values, the profile elements, those being CWAP, VWAP, standard deviation. Any users who have the advanced profile add-on down here will also have access to the 6 additional elements that were provided in the advanced profile add-ons. So for example, the DWAP, the 50 line, the evolving 50 line, the CWAP, VWAP difference, and the TWAPs. And again, this is all detailed. All the detail of which fields are covered later in the document, which we'll get to. But this specifically the focus is on anyone who wants to work with the active profile to build strategies and also to write indicators based on that data. So you then have the ability to work with the CWAP, VWAP elements of an evolving profile to actually write your own strategies. Included in the set of 9 is I've provided several strategy examples to illustrate using the detail. One of these key being is the popular CWAP, VWAP strategy, where we enter one or two ticks around the CWAP and then using the VWAP as our stop size off. So that has already been provided as an example. There's also an example using the VWAP and the DWAP for this, and another indicator to actually process and pull out all of the data has been provided too. So again, I've wanted to provide a framework so that you guys who are interested in this can really get up to speed working with this with already compiled built examples, so you can get on with your ideas and how you want to use this. So let's review quickly the 3 distinct add-ons so that it's very clear to you which of these you may be interested in. Again, the bar strategy add-on, exclusively for OFA bar data and integrating and working with NinjaTrader. The OFA Bloodhound add-on is as I said, inherits all of the functionality of the bar strategy add-on, in addition to providing the components and integration to work with Bloodhound from Shark Indicators. So as I've noted here is you would either select the OFA Bloodhound add-on or the bar strategy add-on, depending on which type of package and user type that you are. And then the last one, which can be run standalone, is the profile strategy add-on for accessing the nominated active volume profile on an OFA chart. So if you look at this little illustration here and just follow the yes nos as to which relates to you is, for example, do I have or currently use the Bloodhound tools or plan to? Then if you go to the left, determining which of the data do you want to use. Do you want the core OFA data and the live volume data? Then this is the add-on that you would choose, the OFA Bloodhound add-on. Alongside this, you can see I've included the active volume profile. This is a standalone that can be used separately, and I've highlighted this here so that you can either purchase each of these separately, or as you'll see in the sales page, these can be purchased as a package with some savings incorporated in that. If you don't have Bloodhound and you don't plan to, then the bar strategy add-on is the one that you would select for accessing the core OFA data and the live volumes at price. And similarly, the standalone, the active volume profile, if you have determined you only want access to the active profile data, then you can purchase this as a standalone. Additionally, that savings to be had by purchasing them as a package. So in the documentation, this chart is here just to help navigate, so it's very clear which of the add-ons of the three that you would select. Just to show here in the documentation, there's a lot more detail on the feature set of each of the add-ons. These two columns here, the one on the left pertains to the Bloodhound package, and the one on the right is the bar strategy add-on. So you can see that, again, all the features of this one are incorporated in the Bloodhound one, with the addition of using all of the Bloodhound iterative dynamic logic template process to very efficiently create and test your logic ideas. Those who are already familiar with Bloodhound will already realize the power and the speed of being able to use the connector template logic solvers in Bloodhound to very quickly and dynamically make changes to your test conditions and to your condition logic. 6 samples have been provided for each of these, and those have been included in the zip file that you will import into Ninja. And again, as I mentioned before, you can perform any custom analysis on the actual volumes at price, working with volume thresholds and triggers of your own bid-ask analysis for a strategy or an indicator. Any ideas that you already have or have wanted to actually implement, now you have access to this data. At the bottom here, the profile strategy add-on, again, in summary, gives you all the elements plus the 6 additional ones in the advanced profile to access to either create entry and stop conditions for your strategy, or to actually use the data as input into other indicators that you may have. If I scroll down here, I just want to cover very quickly, these are all the outputs that are generated for both the bar strategy add-on and the OFA Bloodhound add-on. So you can see here on the left, these are the actual reference names that you will see in the code or in the actual plot itself. When you open up Market Analyzer, the Strategy Builder, and in the actual OFA Bloodhound, it's the plots is the theme that you will see in order to nominate which field that you want to work with. So I've listed all the detail here and the actual settings, for example, for an OFA probe up, down and neutral. We have these specific settings here that need to be tested. For the classification, depending on the classification that you've selected for the actual bar strategy or OFA Bloodhound add-on, you can actually set that to being whichever of the color logic that you currently use, be that the value logic, or in the case that I'm going to illustrate, the one that I primarily use is the actual POC logic. I've provided an appendix in this document just to refresh. This is covered in other OFA tutorials, but if you go to the end of this document, you can review and check the various color logic options that you have, which will then determine the actual bar classification outputs that you can then use in your indicators and strategies. So the buy setting is 1, the sell -1, and the neutral is 2. Again, the actual rules for the outputs of these vary depending on the color logic. What I'm next going to cover shortly is the bonus functional indicator, which makes heavy use of the classification, the POC, and the actual bar direction values to provide a visual feedback of actual shifts in the auctions. I've added a couple of utility fields here, high-low ticks and the open and closed ticks. So say, for example, you want to determine the volatility or the range of the probe and rotation for an indicator or a strategy. You may, if you suddenly get a 20-tick range of a probe rotation, typically the market will come back to test that. So for both for Bloodhound and within OFA, I've just provided these convenience values here to actually use this if you want to work with the actual ticks between the high and the low, or in the actual body of the actual probe and rotation bar itself. I've included here a structure of what I've included in the actual indicator example. This facilitates the extract and the interface to the actual bar volume at price. This will be much clearer when you review the actual code sample, and each of these values, the total volume of each row, the buy volume, the sell volume, seeing the bid and the ask volume. I've also included the alerts, and these are a boolean, so the actual price alerts that you see on the chart, we've actually opened up so that if you want to use those, you can actually retrieve those for each volume at price. I've noted here, just to make it clear, this is not the same as the sequence of 2 or 3, which is typically set in the OFA parameters. These are the actual individual row by row indications that there is a toxic price alert has been set for that row, which you can use. So please review again the NT8 tutorials for this, but I just wanted to mention that the alerts have actually been exposed as part of the volume analysis here. The next section here, the profile strategy add-on. Again, I've listed all of the fields here that we are giving access to, so the VWAP, CWAP, the value area price, high and low cluster, the POC, standard deviations. I've also provided readily available values for each of the upper and lower standard deviation 1 through 3, and these are the additional advanced profile values. For advanced profile users will see this as well. This here, OFA is active profile enabled. This is a key element that is used in the actual code itself. It's very easy to use and straightforward, but it basically, before you start accessing any values, it's very important to test, is there a profile enabled that is active, i.e. is active profile enabled. Once you have done this, then you can then access the values. This will be very clear in the OFA samples of how to do this. Very quickly here, you'll see a list of all the summary samples that have been provided. The first 6 at the top relate to the bar strategy or the OFA Bloodhound add-ons. Each of these has these and references the appropriate code base that is required for each. So if you've downloaded the zip file for the bar strategy, you will see these, and if you've downloaded the zip file for Bloodhound, there are slight differences in the actual core referencing that you'll see, but that is already taken care of, so you actually don't really need to worry about it. The actual code itself has already made that reference for you. So you can see here we have this cluster close logic example. This is the one I'm actually going to provide in more detail and go over some chart examples of the actual research and development to use this as a bonus function that users will have to get started with straight away, that it's already going to provide value to you in actually reading the OFA charts. I provided a sample of using the POC price series for an EMA. I've provided a sample to connect with align the actual POCs themselves. And here you can see what I just covered there, the actual volumes at price. There's an example to show how to access these. I've written a strategy here that actually runs the same logic for the cluster close logic as a strategy. And then there's an additional one. What I've done here is added more detail to provide tick by tick adjustment of the stop for the cluster close logic. So for more advanced users, it's giving you more granular access to being able to dynamically adjust the stop on a tick by tick basis. The next group here is for the profile strategy add-on. I've added a strategy for CWAP and VWAP, entry at CWAP, stop at VWAP. This one here is detecting, putting a limit order for a VWAP entry with a DWAP stop, and then here is an indicator to actually extract and process the actual active profile data. You can spend time to go through more detail. Each of these has been covered with some narrative for each of them. I've also included comments in the code to break down what is actually happening at each stage. So for users who want to get straight into the code and use this, you can follow the logic and use the notes here and also the actual comments in the code